Hello there and welcome yet again to our program Know Your Laws, where we talk on matters to do with law, justice and legal affairs, always being here to educate you and help you and learn new laws that govern you and some policies that also are of your best interest. On last week's episode, we talked about the immigration law, where we help you learn on how you can travel outside of the country with all the set policies and regulations. This week, we continue on that discussion with my guest, Collins Aguayo, who is an immigration lawyer. Welcome to the program yet again, Collins, for us to continue in the discussion on immigration. And just to pick it from where we left on our last episode, of course, having educated Kenyans on and help them learn on how they can be able to travel abroad, of course, with the help of documents such as passport and visa, you can be able to get to a destination. But again, as we talked last week, issuance of visa is done under certain grounds, and those grounds are the ones that help you to be able to secure a visa to travel to the country of your choice. But now, when you get to the country of your choice, of course, you have to adhere to the visa or now you indicated on your visa. Under what grounds now can someone find themselves in a bigger problem because of not adhering to what they indicated in their visa of travel?
Thank you so much for granting me opportunity so that we can continue the discussion. Speaking of visas, immigration and travel, you'll find that once you've been granted that opportunity to travel outside Kenya, this state has allowed you to visit their country. The same way, you can allow someone to visit your home under condition, because a visa is basically a conditional visit to another country, because one, you are not a citizen of that country, so they are giving you conditions upon you traveling to that particular country. So there are different types of visas. We have the business visa, we have the tourist visa, we have the holiday visa, depending, so on and so forth. And different countries have different names for these particular visas. So one of the reason once you attain your visa, you are expected that you should operate within the conditions by which you've been issued the visa. Let's say, for instance, I have applied for a business visa to travel to another country. Let me say, for example, South Africa, or maybe Namibia, or maybe Nigeria. You see, when I'm leaving Kenya, I've been granted opportunity, or I've been granted authority by this particular state through their embassy or the High Commission to travel to this particular country for the purpose of doing business, or maybe for the purpose of going for holiday, or maybe for as a tourist. But when I reach that particular country, I change my reason of traveling from being a tourist to doing business. You see, you've already violated the conditions that you have given. So that's one of the reasons whereby you can be subjected to either, maybe when you apply for another visa for that particular country, will not be granted because you violated for the first time. Or two, if what you are going to do is very gross. Let's say, for example, I get a business visa to go and have a seminar in Nigeria or South Africa or United States. Then upon reaching United States, instead of doing a seminar, I start engaging in criminal activities, or maybe in drug trafficking, human trafficking, or these other crimes. You will find that these crimes are so gross. They are crimes that cannot be entertained with any state. So one, it's either you can be deported, or two, you can also be arrested. Because even before your deportation, it means you've been arrested. So when you're traveling to another country, you should always stick to the reason that you've been granted the visa to access that particular country. Yes.
And now, in the circumstance that you violated your visa, and now you are in a very big problem with the country that granted you visa. At that particular point, now as a person who traveled out of the country, knowing that you are now under the hands of that particular state, now you find yourself you violated that particular visa. And the reason why you were able to travel. At that point, what really can someone be able to do?
You see, when you travel to another country, there are laws that govern this particular country, which of course, we are talking of someone who has maybe violated the laws of this particular country. Depending, you see, you can be arrested in another country, and this country, or they, instead of deporting you, after arresting you, they decide you are going through their criminal channel, whereby you can also even be jailed in that particular country. So when it reaches to that point where you've traveled to another country and you found yourself in a problem, there is where the embassy comes in. You see, we have embassies in different countries, you have high commission in different countries. So when you travel to another country and you find yourself in a problem, the first point that you should contact is the embassy of that country. If you are a Kenyan, you are in another country and something happens, the first person that you should reach, or the first agency that you should reach, or the government department, is the embassy of that particular country. Thereby, they'll be in a position to govern you, to guide you on what you're supposed to do. Because the embassy should be aware of the whereabouts of the citizens of the country when they are outside Kenya. Because when you are outside, you are in the hands of the ambassador of that particular country, you are in the hands of the ambassador of Kenya in that particular region. So you should, the first thing that you should do, always get in touch with the embassy when something happens. Yes.
And in a scenario where now you find yourself under the circumstance of being of deportation, of course, having violated maybe your visa, description, or what you wanted to travel in that country for, and you find yourself under the grounds of deportation. So in that case, is it the Kenyan government now that gives the go-ahead for a deportation, or that particular country now deports you direct, even without the knowledge of your mother country?
You see, what happens, the law has provided for all these issues, because there are issues that you can foresee. So what happens, one thing is that, let's say you're in country X and they want to deport you back to Kenya. One, different countries have different procedures which allow for someone to be deported. But generally, the Kenyan government will be notified, or the Kenyan embassy will be notified that one of your citizens has violated these particular rules, so we are going forward and deport him back to the country. So before you are deported, the Kenyan government will be notified that you are being deported. The same thing happens even here in Kenya. Those are the procedures that should be followed. A foreigner has been arrested in Kenya, and this particular foreigner has he has committed atrocities or different crimes. Before we deport this particular foreigner, the embassy will be notified. And according to the ruling of the court recently, before we deport a foreigner from Kenya, actually the process is initiated by the director of the public prosecution, then upon which the person can be notified. So the government will be notified first before a person has been deported to the country, so that also you can be in a position to receive your citizen from this particular region. Yeah.
Talking about deportation now is a matter that is, of course, very common. At a time where there was so much cases of deportation, of course, people from different countries being deported back to their country. And there was a matter of contention where some of them were fighting back the deportation by saying, we are being deported while we still have all the legal documents that we've been having, and we have not committed any crime, but we are just being deported because of a certain wave. If you remember very well, there was a certain wave that some people from country X and country Z are in the country, but their behavior in the country is not very well. But now that is one person implicated, but now it becomes a country X affair where the people from this country are being deported under different grounds. But now here they fight back the deportation. We have all the legal documents, and you are deporting us back. So is the Kenyan government under the law able to deport someone while they still hold all the legal documents of their entry into the country?
Actually, speaking from a legal perspective, you see all these nations around the globe are governed by laws. And before, because even we have the laws governing the human rights and all these aspects of human life, you see there is something that we call legitimate expectation in law. If I travel to United Kingdom under a business visa, I expect that my visa maybe will expire, let's say, after 30 days. So I anticipate within those 30 days, I'll be in UK free and enjoying whatever I've gone to do there. So from a legal perspective, it's very wrong. Actually, it's illegal to deport someone without a basis. If it's the same way when it happens that I'm taken to jail, I'm arrested and sentenced without committing a crime. You see, that one is very wrong. That's why you have the rules and procedures and even the laws. So for someone to be deported, some procedures must be followed. Even the same thing happens in Kenya. Of course, maybe we have been having instances here and there, and we don't have facts for those instances. But you will realize that before, deportation is not only, it affects your dignity. It's a human right issue. Even economically, you'll be injured because you will have invested in this, traveling to this particular country. Only upon arriving there, you are deported to another country. So it's basically illegal. A country cannot just decide to deport you without a reason. Actually, you should be notified of the reason why they are deporting you. And these reasons must be reasonable reasons upon which are stated, maybe in their statute, in their procedures, and in their laws. Yeah.
And talking about the procedures that you are that are supposed to be given to you before even deportation, like, what is the procedure now of initiating maybe a deportation? Like, for instance, in our Kenyan in our Kenyan law, like there are stipulations how you can initiate a deportation. So for maybe someone who wants to fight back a deportation, what are the procedures that the Kenyan government uses to deport someone?
According to the recent court ruling, what happens is this. Because most of the people who are deported, they are a threat to the country. And one of the ways that someone is a threat is maybe someone is a criminal, is a potential terrorist, and so on and so forth. So what happens is that, let's say you'll be arrested, and once you've been arrested in Kenya, the authority of the police ends there. So your file is forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecution. So the Director of Public Prosecution will go over your file. Then you'll see the evidence that has been provided by the state that this particular person maybe is in Kenya illegally. Maybe even you don't have a status in Kenya. You don't have a work permit. You don't have a special pass. You don't have a visa to allow you to be in Kenya. You see, that's one of the reasons why you can be deported. You are in a country illegally. So the DPP will go over your documents, and they will see that this person is illegally in Kenya. So from there, they will initiate the deportation process. whereby they will notify the immigration department, because the immigration department is the department that deals with all these issues, the movement of people in and outside Kenya. So they'll notify the immigration department. So also you'll be notified that they want to deport you. So before you are deported, you can go to court, of course, if you have that chance and you have that time. You can go to court so that you're granted an injunction, and that process can be halted until maybe your case is heard and determined before you are deported.
And now, if you get deported, or you're in a position of being deported, and you feel that you're being deported, maybe against your conscience and against what you feel is wrong, are there chances of someone fighting back a deportation?
Yeah, there are chances. And the only way you can fight a deportation is going to court. And if the court will allow you, will declare that you are legally in Kenya and maybe you are not a candidate of deportation, then there's no way they can deport you, not unless they just decide to go against court orders. And those are something that we cannot advocate. Yeah.
Of course, deportation is usually a very contentious matter, because now it comes to proving your citizenship and also proving whether you really belong to this particular country. For instance, whereby a Kenyan citizen by birth, of course, the constitution is very paramount that you can never revoke a Kenyan citizenship by birth. And there is also the same Kenyan perhaps having a foreign citizenship, maybe per se for a country like United Kingdom, and then they commit a certain offense, maybe, and they are subject for deportation. Now, in a scenario where the government decides that you have another citizenship of this particular country, we are going to deport you. And as a Kenyan born here and as a Kenyan citizen by birth, your deportation by the Kenyan government to maybe another country, is that something that is applicable?
No, actually it's not. That one is illegal from first instance. You see, your state is like your home. I cannot be living with my uncle. Maybe it's my uncle funding my school fees, it's my uncle paying for my rent and everything. Then when I go home, my father or mother tells me, and I'm below 18 years, no, that you're not my son, you go back to your uncle. You see, it cannot happen that way, because even those are the foundation of such laws. You cannot revoke citizenship by birth, not unless it was acquired via fraud. And this is a point of contention, because it has to go to court so that it is proven that you acquired those documents via fraud. But a citizenship by birth cannot be revoked. Yeah.
And in a case where you find yourself, maybe you are in a foreign country as a Kenyan, and you have been told that you are subject to deportation, and of course you have been told you are subject to deportation, and you are being told that in a scenario where you've lived in that country maybe for a certain period of time, and even married a spouse from that particular country, but comes a scenario where they tell you, now we feel that you're not part of us as we require you to be, and now we have to deport you. Is that possible? And if a Kenyan finds themselves in such a scenario, what transpires?
It being possible or not, we cannot give it as a black and white answer. But what we can say, you see, before any state initiates deportation process, there must be a reason. In law, we say that he who alleges must prove. So there must be a reason for that. The government or this state cannot just decide that we want to deport Kenyans just like that. You see, there must be a reason for that. One, it might be a strained relationship between these particular countries. Maybe, let us say, our country is at war with another country. So this particular country decides to retaliate by deporting all Kenyans from their country. Two, it might be that you have committed crime in that particular country. So in return, they want to make you go back to your country. That can be reason number two. Reason number three, it might be that you don't have documents of you living in that particular country. So they are trying to send you away to where you came from. Another reason, maybe you acquired this document via fraud. And you see, when you acquire a document via fraud, it doesn't matter how long it takes. It can take even 50 years you are in a country, but if this particular government come on realization that these documents were acquired via fraud, actually they have all the reasons to deport you. It is the same way, even in an institution, if you get a job or employment in a company, you could have worked there even for 50 years, 2 years to retirement. But if they realize that you got that job using fraudulent means, they have all the reasons to fire you, even if you have 3 months to exiting the workplace. So these are some of the reasons that someone might be deported from another country. And you see, when you find yourself in that particular reason, it's up to you now to prove otherwise, depending on the charges that have been flagged against you. So if you can you can show that maybe you are targeted wrongly, then the chances of you being deported without a reason, it's so minimal. It's so hard for someone to be a target in another country without a reason. Yeah.
And because, of course, fighting back deportation is one of the hardest things ever, because once a country has made a decision, the chances of you being deported are very high. Just for the sake of the viewer, maybe someone viewing could be in a position to be traveling. What would you say are the don'ts once you get a visa, maybe to travel into a certain country under the immigration law?
You see, when you get to travel to another country, those countries do have laws that govern that particular country. You see, the laws that govern Kenya, they're not the same laws that govern Uganda, for instance. So one of the things that you should not do, you know, we start from here. One is that when you get that visa to travel to another country, ensure at all times that you are within the limitations of the visa. If you got a visitor's visa, you should not go to another country and start doing business, because that one is you'll be violating the terms of the visa. Two, upon getting to this particular country, you should at all times ensure that you align to the laws of the country. You see, I'll use a very practical example. So many states in the US, they are legalizing marijuana and bang. You see, if I'm a Kenyan and I travel to the US and I smoke marijuana there, it's legal. So there's nothing that will happen to me. I'll be doing it within the stipulation of the law. The same Kenyan, if I travel, let's say, to another country, let me give an example of maybe even Botswana or Rwanda or Burundi, then you find that this particular substance is illegal in this particular country. Yeah. If I happen to smoke that bang in this other country, then I've violated the laws of that particular country. So the laws of nations, they are different. So when you travel to another country, you try as much as possible to live according to the laws of the land. It's all about jurisdiction. In law, we call it jurisdiction. The laws of Kenya are different from the laws of Uganda, but majorly they might look the same, but it depends. You know, even in Kenya, maybe constitutionally we have the freedom of expression, we have democracy. You'll go to another country, those things are not there. If you do them there, you might get deported. So you just live within. You know, when you travel to another country and you're an alien, your rights are not the same as of the inhabitants of those countries. The same way, a foreigner, of course, they have rights in Kenya, but there are some limitations to those rights. Yeah,
they're not they're not taken as Kenyan citizens by birth.
Yeah, they're not taken. There are some things they cannot do. They cannot vote. They cannot buy. Yeah.
So your final advice for anyone who perhaps would want to travel at any particular moment, what would be your advice to them as an immigration lawyer?
My advice, actually, one, you see, traveling is adventure, traveling is fun, traveling is good. It opens up your mind. It makes you see things that you could not have seen otherwise if not by traveling. So traveling is fine. And I would like to encourage even many Kenyans to get to travel, to explore the world. And yeah, it's interesting. And also my final advice will be stick to the law. When you travel outside Kenya, remember that you're not in your country. So stick to the law of that place. And you live a very quiet and peaceful life whenever you are. Yes.
And on that point is where, of sticking to the law, is where we end up our show, Know Your Laws. We have been talking on matters to do with immigration with my guest, who is Colin Sagweyu, an immigration lawyer. Thank you so much for making time to expound this particular big law for Kenyans to be able to understand, and we hope we can continue this discussion some other time. Thank you so much for making time for this particular discussion. And that has been our discussion on matters to do with immigration law. My name is Chris Sambo, and see you on the next episode. Goodbye.